And welcome back to my channel. Unless you're new here, and then just welcome. My name is Rusty, and this is my channel where I talk about my favorite movies, mostly horror, my favorite music, mostly metal. And we are going to now talk about Moonfall. Now, this is a new thing I'm trying since I got the hang of StreamYards, and that is I'm going to do like movies that I'm not going to do a whole video on. I'm going to do what I'm going to call live quickies, where I will give my thoughts on a film very shortly after watching it. Tonight or this morning, I watched Moonfall, and then I watched Dolan's Cadillac. So I just did a little video on Dolan's Cadillac. Now I'm going to do one on Moonfall. I love Roland Emmerich. He is, to me, the new version of Irwin Allen from the 70s. You know, Irwin Allen did all of the disaster movies from the 70s, or most of them. And Roland Emmerich, you know, Stargate, Independence Day, Day After Tomorrow, 2012, and Moonfall, amongst a bunch of other stuff. So I heard a lot of negative, flack about this movie, but I love movies like 2012 and that. So, of course, I absolutely loved it. I love this movie. I did have a slight problem with the first act after you got past the introduction. Well, first let me do the intro. Moonfall was released in 2022. It's only PG-13 as usual for these kind of films. It was directed and written by Roland Emmerich, and it stars Halle Berry, Patrick Wilson, and John Bradley. Now, I loved the opening scene where they were in space on the shuttle in 2011. Some mysterious thing hits him and Patrick Wilson's character and the other pilot, causing the loss of the other moonwalker or spacewalker. Uh, Halle was knocked out during this process, and it went and landed on the moon, whatever this thing was. So, and burrowed into the moon. So she had to tell the truth, and that is that she was unconscious and didn't know what it was. This led to his expulsion from NASA and all kind of stuff. Now, during this first act, after the wonderful intro, I did get a little bored because it seemed a little slow with all of this poor, pitiful me, interpersonal relationship stuff. And that kind of, annoyed me a little bit, or it kind of worried me a little bit. Then we got to the first real special effects scene, and the first 30 seconds, 45 seconds of the scene looked very fake to me. And I was like, oh no, is this going to be a bad movie? I'm worried. But by the time the flood scene was over, though, it looked really good, and I really enjoyed it. And from that moment on, the movie was fantastic. So there was that little slow, I guess, maybe I just wasn't in the mood to learn their backstories at that moment. But it kind of seemed a little slow there for a minute. But then all of a sudden it picked up, and it was fantastic after it picked up. Of course, it's very unbelievable. It's very what the fuck. It's a really hardcore sci-fi story. Suspension of disbelief is extremely required for it, but that's okay. So was 2012, and all of the others. They're all based on kernels of truth. You know, um, I don't know if there's really a group of people out there who believe the moon is a megastructure, but maybe there are. If there are flat earthers out there, I'm sure there are anything. Not that I'm saying that megastructurists would be the same, but I know all about Dyson spheres and the big wheel in Elysium, the gravity wheel. So yeah, as the movie went on, I had to accept that all of Roland's movies has interpersonal relationships, like you know, 2012 did with John Cusack, and of course Dennis Quaid and all, and Jake Gyllenhaal. They all had interpersonal relationships in all of the movies. So The special effects, though, after it got going, were just absolutely amazing. It really reminded me. I found myself really thinking about Mission to Mars, the movie Mission to Mars, when they actually get down into the moon to save the Earth, and he is told the secret of our past with our ancestors and how they migrated, how the moon came here as a megastructure and put their DNA. Now, this has been seen before in Mission to Mars and even Star Trek episodes like Star Trek Generations did that kind of thing where we were seeded, our DNA was seeded by an alien race. So that scene, those scenes inside the moon where he has given our backstory was so Mission to Mars, just like when he was in the pyramid and was ended up being taken away in their little fluid thing where they sent him back to their home universe or home galaxy. So yeah, that whole backstory thing where they, where he was told all that was so Mission to Mars. I really, really enjoyed that part of it. And yeah, it was great. I loved all that. And they showed our ancestors' civilization, where it came from, and how the AIs became sentient and destroyed them, and now they're chasing them, was all really cool. And uh, John Bradley, he played that goofy guy, and that was really funny. And I was really hoping that he wasn't dead at the end. I was like, no, 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 don't kill the fat boy, you know. And it turns out that yes, he was killed in the explosion, but um, it had completely scanned his consciousness and transferred it into the moon's AI system. So he is still alive and part of the moon as a construct. And that ending where, the AI told him, well, now isn't it about time we get started? And he was like, on what? And the movie ended. It was like really cool. I would like to see a sequel to it because it definitely left it open for one. And I know that right now he's working on a remake of his own movie, Stargate. Why he's decided to do that, I don't know, because I'm not sure I really understand the purpose of why he would redo. It's not a sequel or a reboot. It's just Stargate. He's remaking his own first hit movie. But trying to outdo James Spader and Kurt Russell, really? Is that what you're going to try to do, Roland? Are you going to get some ugly? You're going to get some doofy ass with a new hobo fat beard to take Kurt Russell's place? I mean, come on. It. I'm not sure how I feel about him redoing Stargate, um, remaking Stargate, because I just don't think that you can top Kurt Russell and James Spader. I just don't. I just don't see what you're going to do, especially if you put Liam Hemsworth and his beard in there or something like that. I just don't really understand what you're doing, redoing Stargate. But we'll just have to see. And we're not talking about that. We're talking about Moonfall. I loved Halle Berry's performance. I loved Patrick Wilson and John Bentley. I loved everybody's thing in there. He must have a problem with what they call stepdads, because if you notice, he killed the stepdad in 2012, and then I noticed that he killed the stepdad in Moonfall. So I'm like, I don't know. Does Roland have an issue with stepdads? With stepdads, because he's killed both of them in his disaster movies. But I think that the visual effects, the special effects when the moon was grazing our atmosphere, I was like glued to the screen. I really loved it. Me brother, to give you his word as well, he absolutely loved it. I, of course, had the digital code, so he gets to watch it on Vudu. He loved it as well. He liked the movie a lot. So I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it as much as I have his other stuff. I really liked it. Like I said, unlike the other movies, there did seem to be a little faltering in the first act. Things seemed to be going too fast, but then that's because they wanted to go ahead and get to where it was going to get because Moonfall is not a short movie. It's 2 hours and 10 minutes long. And so at first, like during those first 20 minutes, I was like, why are they going so fast? Is this like an hour and 20 minutes or something? I was scared to go and look because I didn't want to dislike it. But once it all got started, I saw why they kind of jumped in the first act to get to where they needed to be because it ended up being a very, very long special effects movie. And unlike a lot of other people, I really enjoyed it. I loved the special effects. Like I said, there was the very beginning, that first flood on the West Coast, or the East Coast, the West Coast, when they were in that hotel, those first 20 seconds looked so fake, so B movie that it worried me. But then it changed, everything looked good. And for the rest of the film, everything got better. The longer the film went, the more I liked it. And I think it's a special effects extravaganza. And I loved it. I really did like Moonfall. So I'm biased, of course, because I love Roland Emmerich. I love all of his movies. I'm a big Halle Berry fan. I love Kidnap and The Call, which is two of her more recent movies. Patrick Wilson, I don't really know him that much. John Bradley, I recognize him, but I don't know him that much either. But still, Roland Emmerich and Halle Berry together was really good, and I think it's a great movie. So that is my quick take, my live quick take, just after watching Moonfall. And I definitely give it a 7.5 out of 10 or an 8 out of 10. I really like it because I always upscale on International Movie Database. But yeah, that's my quick take on Moonfall, and I will see you guys when I watch another movie or do some more full length videos or whatever the hell I do. Me and my red hair, it's 7 o'clock in the morning. The sun's coming up, shining in here on my strawberry blonde. And I will see y'all in the next one. Gingers rule and heavy metal rules. Gingers, redheads, we rule. That's just the facts. Bye bye.